Now we're going to take a look at how you can use the Air 2.0 APIs from a Creative Suite CS5 extension. What I'm going to do is use the new project wizard to create a project, and let's call it something like Hello Native Process. And I'm going to target InDesign, and I'm going to make it a panel, and that would be perfectly fine. So we have a skeleton project. What I'm going to do is simply add another button to its UI once it starts up. So I'm going to create another button which is going to have the legend update. And I'm going to go and add the method update frame to Hello Native Process, just so that it compiles correctly. Sorry. So that compiles. That'll have a UI that has two buttons on it. What I'm going to do is to write an extension that starts up another application. I'm going to choose TextEdit that comes as part of MacOS, and I'm going to open that with a pre-existing RTF file, and then I'm going to do all that from the panel of a CS extension, and I'm going to go and switch into that other application, change the contents of that, and show that by hitting an update button inside of InDesign itself that I can update the contents of a text frame. And we're going to do that by using the Native Process API within Air 2.0. Now, what I'm going to do is start putting in code one or two lines at a time, and you'll discover what we have to do to start using the Native Process API. I'm just going to simply, let's suppose that we had defined some body in that update frame method. I'm going to call it from there. Now, if I try and save this code, I'll check the problems view. You can see that it doesn't know about file. That's okay. File is part of flash.file system. So let's import flash.file system. But native process is unavailable, and it doesn't know about native process in the standard Flex 3.4 SDK. So what we have to do is to basically provide a version of the Flex 3.4 SDK that has the Air 2.0 SDK overlaid. And there's a recipe for doing that on Adobe Labs. If you look on Adobe Labs under Air 2.0, you'll find a straightforward recipe to do that. I've already done that, so all I have to do is, if I was to do this from the ground up, I'll show you how I do it through the Eclipse preferences. I would go to Installed Flex SDKs, and I would add a new SDK. In this case, I've already done it. It's already in my SDKs folder in Flash Builder plugin. So what I'm going to do is use that particular SDK to compile my extension. I'm going to go to Properties and change the Flex SDK that I'm using to the one with Air 2 overlaid. And then I'm going to apply dismiss the dialog. And now let's try again to see if we can resolve that symbol. And it's now aware of flash.desktop.native process. So that by itself won't do anything. We have to parameterize the call with a native process metadata structure called the native process startup info. Let's add a couple of lines of code here. So we've said that our working directory is going to be the desktop directory, and we're going to create one of these native process metadata objects, native process startup info. Let's just make sure it knows about the type. We're going to point it at the executable, which in this case is TextEdit, and we're going to tell it start up in the desktop directory. We're also going to give it a data file, which I prepared a bit earlier. Now let's add another couple of lines of code. And you can see that I've added a listener for the native process that we're starting up exiting, so that know when we're done. And I'll just add a small chunk of code for that listener. And let's just check and see that it compiles. It doesn't know about that guy there, so let's tell it about that symbol. And we need to save what the actual data file is. The data file is going to be a file on my desktop called something.rtf, so I can add in some code here. File, desktop directory, file.separator, ians.rtf. So there's a file on my desktop with placeholder text in it at the moment. Now, this hopefully should start the process. It's not going to do anything when we call update frame, but with a bit of luck, this may start up the text editor and open that file. I'm going to add some InDesign specific code, which I'm just going to paste in, that is going to either create a new document, create a new text frame in it, or if the document exists already, it's going to place that RTF file to that text frame. And I simply type that in a little bit earlier on. And let's walk through that code. You can see I'm grabbing the application object, either taking the first document, so it's very simple-minded code, or I'm adding a new document if there isn't anything at all in the existing documents collection. Then I'm going through, grabbing the page, grabbing the first layer, and I'm checking to see if there's any items in the text frames collection. If there is, I'm taking the first one. If there isn't, I'm adding a new one. So my hope is that when I run this code, that it's going to create an instance of text edit application. It's going to open a file called ians.rtf from the desktop. And let's just try that and see if it works. So let's just check and see it's going to compile. We may find that we have to find some additional symbols. No, it's fine. Right, so let's go, debug as, design extension. So InDesign is going to start up connected to Flash Debugger. And I'll just check that I don't have anything running. I don't have text edit running, which is what I'm going to use as the editor. I'll switch it to InDesign, Window, Extensions, Hello Native Process. And I'll click on the Open button on that dialog. And it's created a text frame. And it's also opened an instance of text edit with some text there. I'll go back to Design and I'll click on Update. And with a bit of luck, that should import the text. Now I'll go back to text edit and I'll simply change that text. And save it. Back to InDesign, Update. Ian has changed this text. So in a matter of 1 or 2 minutes, we've been able to connect a native process, ask it to open a file, and then use that native process as effectively a copy editor. And all that's been done in just a few lines of code using the AIR 2.0 native process and the Seesaw ActionScript wrapper libraries to the InDesign DOM. I think you'll agree that this is a really compact and efficient way to write quite powerful applications on top of the Creator Suite Flash platform extensibility. Thank you very much.